Welcome to the Cafe of Dreams. My name is Frank Thomas. I'm here with Lynn Kitchen. Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Happy to be here, Frank.
Excellent, excellent. And we have another interesting show for you today. Last show we were talking about the Victim Diner, and it was a brilliant show. If you have not listened to it, you need to stop right now, go back to the previous episode, and either watch it on YouTube or listen to it on iTunes, because, like I said, it's an excellent, excellent show. But today we're going to be talking about the Ordinary Grill. Lynn, give us some idea what the Ordinary Grill is. How did you realize you're in it? We just want to hear about this.
Okay, Frank. First of all, thank you for having me. The three different parts of the kitchen that in my analogy is that we think in certain patterns. I call it operating systems of thinking. Mm-hmm. And the first one, as we discovered or went through last time, was thinking inside the victim diner, where your predominant thoughts are blame and resentment, or always thinking that your circumstances are a result of somebody or something doing something to you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the second scenario is an operating system or a thinking system that I like to call the Ordinary Grill. Okay. And the Ordinary Grill is usually the next step in the evolution of our, in my case, it's the evolution of my self-awareness. And what happens, and I find this quite common for many people, once you begin to really shift your life out of the victim thinking, and usually it's a result of having a trauma or drama happen to you. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it's a bankruptcy. Maybe it's the stock market collapse, and you're having to now come back from a 0 point. Or maybe it's some kind of a traumatic turnaround that you've had to recover from. Or maybe it is a life-threatening diagnosis from health. Whatever it is, oftentimes when we move out of victim thinking, it's the next step. We don't really know how to think. Usually I have found that the next step is called Ordinary Grill because we settle into a thinking that is less than who we can really be. Mm-hmm. It's like a little plateau of, give me some relief for a minute, please. I need just an area where I don't have so much stress happening on myself. Mm-hmm. I just went through this big trauma, and now I want some relief. Anything that will give me some time where I can back and fill, or just settle down and have some peace of mind. That's what I want. And that's okay. It is a better progression, but it's still a way of thinking that is not ideal. Mm-hmm. It is a place where we find ourselves trying to just get by.
It almost sounds like, the way you're describing it, almost sounds like we fall asleep on life.
We fall asleep on life. That's a brilliant, I'm going to write that down. That's exactly what the Ordinary Grill refers to. And I like to say that, when we find ourselves in the Ordinary Grill, it's when our predominant thoughts are, what can I do just to get by? Mm-hmm. Hey, let's just keep things copacetic. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, this is working good for me now. Don't rock the boat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or when I talk to people about their dreams, hey, what are you doing? What's your passion? What are you creating? And they say, what are you talking about? I'm fine. Don't talk to me about more that I need to do or be. I'm fine. Mm-hmm. My life is fine. I just leave me alone. I'm fine as I am. Things are looking good. And they just want for somebody else not to rock their boat.
Exactly, exactly. And I know that witnessing people in some of their lives, they'll go through this phase of the ordinary grill, literally right into retirement. Their whole life just ordinary, 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 and they
Yeah,
had greatness step to their door, and they're like, "That's okay. I'm not really interested." And they get into a place where they're, let's say, turning 65 and they're ready to retire, and now they're feeling like they missed something. They missed the boat. And I believe, and I know we've talked about this in the show before, in that that it's like they have all these dreams inside of them that were never realized.
exactly right. Thanks for bringing that up because retirement, in at least in the culture that we live in, retirement is sold as this utopia time in our lives in which we are all supposed to be looking forward to the day in which we get to kick back and do nothing. And really, that is a prescription for finding yourself in the ordinary grill for the rest of your time. Most of us now have a lifespan that's lengthening. You see, our lifespan is we actually get an extra decade or two as a gift because of the medical breakthroughs. Most of us now are going to be living into our mid 90s, no longer only into our mid 70s. So we have an extra 20 years to do what? Well, to retire at 65, and from 60 or 65 to 90 or 95 is 30 years of kickback. I'm not so sure if that's not a prescription for unhappiness in the long run, because what it really is, it's a prescription, as you said, for going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that causes us to go to sleep on our own lives and put away or put in the back burner the passions that we really have that would make us come alive, but we say, oh no, I just need to get by. I just need to retire and just do as little as possible because then I won't have any aggravations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost as if the goal is to have least aggravations in life, and that's supposed to be a good life.
Hmm.
As a matter of fact, when we're truly alive, we are alive because we're hungry for life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, hungry for our passions. We're hungry for our purposes. And many people spend their entire life, at least in retirement, waiting for their own death.
Mm-hmm. It's not unusual. I was reading a statistic about a year ago that they were wondering why, and this was this was a Canadian statistic, not a United States statistic, so I don't know if it's different. But they've discovered that most men who retire at 65 with a plan of retirement die within 2 years of retirement.
Interesting. Well, statistics are very powerful, and yet statistics talk about the lots of people, in a study.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to come back to us as individuals because we each have the power to look at our own thinking and see, where do I fall in the spectrum of my thinking. And I want to give you a personal example.
Okay.
As you know, I spent 35 years in the investment advisory business as an executive. I first started as a stockbroker, and then after only 4 years as a stockbroker, I became independent, started my own broker dealership, built broker dealership up. After 10 years, I sold the company. I rolled into an investment advisory opportunity as an owner and president of that firm. And for the last 15 years of my career, I was an investment advisor, executive, president of the firm, and teacher at the Pacific School of Finance of investment courses. And I was very successful. And yet, there was a message deep down in my soul that was communicating to me on a daily basis, saying, little tiny voice that I did not pay attention to, saying, is that all there is? is this what you're doing? Yes, you're making money for yourself and others, but this is not exactly what makes you come alive.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else. You need to go explore that. I knew that there was a spiritual calling. There was something more pulling me
Right.
into a greater expansion of who and what I was meant to be. And I believe that what we're doing today, the Cafe of Dreams, is I'm moving into a higher expression of who I'm yet to become right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me a long time, a couple of decades, pushing down that voice, opening the door to my office every day and feeling a part of me dying every day because I wasn't really following my dream. It was almost like just staying on hold. It was almost like a low level back burner where you're just simmering. Your life is on simmer for a decade, and a decade can go by. So when your life is on simmer, you're just doing what you think is in front of you. And many of us have to-do lists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day, a mile long. And I used to say, oh, if a whole week of getting through my to-do lists, is that all it is just to get through my to-do list? No, there's something more than that. But when you find yourself in the ordinary grill, it's as if you're only living halfway. It's like half measures.
Mm-hmm.
You're just putting a piece, just a small dash of your own desires into the mix. You're just living from maybe a little bit of your potential, just enough to get by, just a little bit of your dreams. Never putting your full dreams forward.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you're putting somebody else's dream first, your boss's dream, your team, your corporation, your husband, your wife, your children, your parents. Somebody else's dream is always first.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? When you're in the ordinary grill and you put other people's dreams first, a decade can go by without you even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to say that, what kind of ingredients, what kind of thoughts are you thinking? The ingredients that you're cooking up your life with are the thoughts that you're thinking. So in order to recognize that you may be sitting in the ordinary grill, ordering the comfort food that kind of puts you to sleep, like the
souffle. That's one I like.
yes, souffle.
Longy linguine.
Then what's really required is, well, the thoughts that you begin to recognize is, this is good enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me play devil's advocate with you just for a second, then.
Sure.
When you told us the story of things that you've done through your life, I could see a progression. I could see that you were working for somebody else, and you really wanted to break free from that and run your own firm, and that's what you did. But then you found yourself again back, even though you're running your own grill, or your own business. You found yourself again in this place of discontentment, in this place of, is that all there is?
Right. And I think that many of us find ourselves that way. It doesn't matter whether you happen to be an entrepreneur in your own business or if you happen to be an employee in a large corporation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling discontent, that's a clue. This part of one's life, these are the coaching moments that I love, is to talk with people about exploring, becoming curious about those discontents, and then also becoming curious about your longings.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, we can cook up, with a new mentor helping you to really pay attention to your discontents and longings. A mentor can help you really put a new focus on your longings, because those are callings from your heart. Your discontents are also callings. They're like clues to perhaps a hidden inner calling that you're not paying attention to. So these are clues that people can help you with as a mentor, trained to say, no, that's a longing. That's why in the Cafe of Dreams, I like to say, we can cook up a new bowl of longing linguine.
Mm-hmm.
And when you taste your longings, when you can really taste, have a little flavor and a little taste of what it's going to feel like if you're every day you are living your dreams,
Mm-hmm.
the longings of your heart, it will completely change your life.
Now, here's an interesting thing that came to my mind as you were talking. Why is it when vacation time comes, we're thinking about it, we're planning it, and we act them? We have 2 weeks of vacation that comes up in the summertime. We don't wait 10 days in and go, oh, I'm going to go on vacation now because I'm ready. We go on vacation the first day. But something like our dreams and our longings will wait, like you said, for decades or never to go on that journey. Why is that?
I don't have the answer to the whys. I just notice it as a pattern. I've noticed it as a pattern in myself, and the answer to the why, maybe it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter, and that's what I like to say to people. It doesn't really matter how you got to this point or why. It doesn't matter. What matters, and what matters most, is once you can get some help from a mentor who tells you, you know what, it doesn't matter. Let's start today and change it.
Right.
What really matters is putting new emphasis into what you really want. What really matters is when you get excited about a vacation, what is that telling you about what you want? What is that in that vacation? Let's talk about what is it in that vacation that helps you discover a larger part of yourself? Maybe it's the desire for more freedom. Well, what is freedom? This is a huge topic I love to talk about, freedom. I like to talk about especially time and money freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who go on vacation, it's because they have a slice of time and they have a little bit of money to take a vacation, and so it's an oasis. But what if you had enough time and money freedom that you can live your life as if you've got the world?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can choose anything that you want to do on a daily basis because you've got the time and money freedom to choose.
Right.
So that's powerful.
Right. Exactly.
One of the new courses that I have coming up, Frank, is in the spectrum of coaching, in the coaching world, called Health, Wealth, Love, and Purpose. I have a new program coming up this fall that's specifically on creating more time and money freedom for people. It's called the Smart Money Mastery Series. And the first it's actually 4 classes. The first class is going to be on building your money dreams. 7 steps to shift your money reality starting today. And what that's all about is moving out of the ordinary grill where perhaps you've been stuck for a long time in your money world, and looking at your discontents and looking at your longings. Seeing how, with just a little bit of help, you can shift and self-generate into the next level of success that you may be looking for.
That's interesting because do you find, Lynn, that that when you look at a person's money situation, it really is almost like an accounting to their whole life? Like if they find themselves in this place of lack or place of discontent when it comes to money, it usually is an indicator. It's almost like opening up the accounting sheets of your life and seeing that there's a problem elsewhere too.
Well, that's really, really very insightful, because we're not just one-dimensional beings. We are multi-dimensional beings. And so our thinking that perhaps we're we're putting on the brakes in all parts of our lives. That shows up in money, but it definitely can show up in other parts of our lives, like relationship. Here's a thought. In the ordinary grill, take a look at your thinking. Are you thinking in terms of relationships that I can only receive just a little bit of love? There's a wonderful story about a fisherman who went down to the water and saw an expert fisherman just pulling in fish. And so the fisherman went down to that expert saying, "What? How are you getting so many fish?" And so he studied what the expert fisherman was doing, and he noticed that fisherman was only holding on to those fish that were just this large, and threw back the bigger fish. He threw back the bigger fish. And so the fisherman said, "Well, why are you doing that? Aren't maybe the bigger fish, are they not tasty enough? Or is there some law that you have to throw back the bigger fish?" And the expert fisherman said, No. You see that measuring stick over there? I am measuring each one of these fish, and I'm keeping the ones that are just this long, because that's how big my frying pan is. And so when you start to think about how we limit ourselves, how much love are you allowing in your life? See, how much great relationships are you allowing in your life? Maybe you're only allowing and measuring just enough. Just this much, not anymore. And that's partly when you're thinking like someone who's sitting in the ordinary grill, where you only get to have just so much, just to keep it smooth. No, don't rock the boat. I'm happy with just this small amount of love in my life. So there's an example of how that can relate, or to a different part of life, not just money.
Yeah, and I can honestly say to you, I'm actually talking with somebody right now, and they're with another person, and I've been watching them, and I'm like, you guys should not be together, but they're content with each other. I don't know the depth of the relationship, and it's really none of my business to judge the depth of the relationship. But sometimes you just look and think that, from my own experiences and relationships I've been in, there's so much more available to you. And it's that deeper, that stronger commitment. It's almost like you said, it's the ordinary girl. They get comfortable in the situation that they're in. It's not wrong, but it's not right.
And it's really a level of one's awareness. And it's a level of one's awareness of their own self. So this is individual. This is your individual longings and your individual discontents. And perhaps in this example that you're bringing forth, these two people have made a decision that they are comfortable, and that is the extent of their longing, and they're fine. And yet, many of us are unhappy. We are discontent with just allowing just a very small amount of love in our lives.
In this particular example, just to add to it, I've actually had one of them come to me and talk to me, and I could hear the discontent. I could hear it was not a clear cut. And I want to bring this up because I believe that the ordinary grill is more potentially dangerous than the victim diner, because the victim diner, it's very in your face, whereas the ordinary grill, it's very subtle. It's subtle.
It's subtle, and it is underneath the blankets. It's hidden, and this is where I really want to bring light, and to part of my message is to help people discover when they are pulling the covers over their head, and really, again, not living to their dreams. Do you really want to have some hunger in your life to live your dreams? If not, just go ahead and stay in the ordinary grill for the rest of your life. That's fine. But There is more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe that there is a price to pay that we don't realize staying in the ordinary grill. Like you mentioned, you're coming, you had your firm, you sold your firm, you did training, and you still felt
Okay.
incomplete or empty.
Well, there's a big price to
Mm-hmm.
pay. Let me tell you the rest of the story. I didn't tell you the rest of the story. The price came by very, very high price for me, monetarily, and as health-wise. The price for me not paying attention to my longings and discontents ended up with not one, but two major diagnoses of cancer.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I had a stage 4 diagnosis of cancer, and I went back to work thinking, well, just working harder is going to be the resolution here. Working harder, I tried to work smarter. None of that worked because actually I was still working in the area of my discontent. I was not truly following my dream. So therefore, I was staying in that subtle place of unrecognition of my own inner longings. I was pushing those down, and when you push down your inner longings long enough, something's going to rise to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it comes through illness or some kind of other dramatic or traumatic circumstance outside of your control. In my case, it was illness, and it took 2 times for a diagnosis to then wake me up and say, wait a minute, you need to pay attention to your inner longings. The price of that was not only huge in terms of my health, but my business suffered, and eventually I retired from that and made a choice to follow my longings.
Now, some will be thinking, and I want to say this just to bring clarity. Some will be thinking, "Oh, Lynn, it just happens. It just happened. You just got cancer." I don't personally agree with that synopsis. I don't believe that because I have encountered exactly the same thing. But what brought you to this place of understanding and that clarity that, hey, my discontentment was definitely a factor to my situation?
Well, that's a great question, Frank. And I know that many of us are predisposed genetically to receive cancer. And so perhaps thinking doesn't make much difference. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical person. I don't really know the ins and outs of health, but I do know that, and I have studied that the mind-body relationship with how the mind works and how it communicates with the body. There is absolutely evidence that shows, and I believe, in retrospect, I have learned about this more than at the time, but it has been since, I'm healthy enough now and no longer in a cancer situation. Looking back, I can see those times in which my thoughts may have been conducive to my body breaking down in certain points and being more susceptible. Stress levels, you see, especially in the investment world, high stress levels, and a constant evolution of high what are those hormones that when you're in a high state of anxiety at all times?
I know what you mean, though. I understand what you mean.
So, when one puts themselves into high anxiety situations for long periods of time, there must be a price to pay, both mentally, psychologically, emotionally, your body of affairs, your body of emotions, there's a price to pay. So what is the antidote to that? Awareness.
Exactly. It's interesting. I remember when before my personal cancer situation became full blown, I had went to see a naturopath, and this guy was brilliant. He really emphasized the fact that the mind and the body are one unit. And he said, if you always find yourself in fight or flight mode, you will get sick. You will get sick because your body never gets a chance to get off of that fearful high. And you need to come back down to earth and operate in, not in an ordinary sense, but operate in a place where you're more happy. And there's lots of other things he mentioned, but that was one thing that really sticked into my mind. And I can see where you're coming from, is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you, because you mentioned that you went to see a naturopath. Well, you took an action to reach out to someone to help. And here's what I have to say. The ordinary grill, most of us spend a whole decade because we are really quite asleep and we're comfortable in the ordinary grill. We become quite comfortable. And it usually takes either something of trauma to impel us to seek advice from somebody else, or if someone like a mentor comes into your life and helps you so that you can shift your awareness and say, it is possible. You don't have to be another decade like this. It is possible to shift your awareness, to pay attention to your longings, to move forward. And that is what I find usually happens. It takes someone else to help.
Mm-hmm.
And
that
that's
outside
help.
that outside view looking in, so they can say what you can't see, they might be able to see. And I can see why it's so important to have a mentor in that situation.
Yeah, because it's very difficult to look at yourself if you're the one in the picture frame.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How do you stand back and look at yourself? Exactly. So, Lynn, tell us once again about your building your money dreams. Give us some more information. I know that if somebody definitely wants to go the next step and find out more information, it's just a matter of coming over to your website, thecafeofdreams.com, and just joining your list on the site. And I know you'll be sending some information out. But please, once again, tell us a little bit more information about that.
Okay, sure. It is called the Smart Money Mentor Series. I'm taking the 35 years of my investment and financial expertise, and I'm really bringing that real-world experience into the coaching realm to really help people not only understand that there is more, yes, we are abundant creatures and so forth, but there is a way strategically to help change your thinking so that you can move out of a certain set point. Mm-hmm. A certain set point where you're comfortable, and you can then shift into the next area. Perhaps from 100,000 you go to 200,000. Perhaps if you are earning 50,000 you want to go to 100,000. Perhaps if you're at 500,000 you want to go to 1 million. Those progressions have one thing in common, and it is called a thinking trigger. So I'll be teaching those tips and thinking triggers that make the difference. And it's 4 series, it's 4 classes, and the first is called Building Your Money Dreams. Okay. Because first you have to have the awareness of where you are and where you want to go. So you build your money dreams. It's like a blueprint of where you want to go. 7 steps to shift your money reality starting today. And then we'll move forward from there into the year 2016, where we can make that year the very best financial freedom year. So my purpose is to help people to create their time and money freedom, to create wealth and have long-term choices in their lives so that the rest of your life can up-level as well. So we're starting this fall, and the way to find out about that is, as you said, to go to my website, thecafeofdreams.com, and just opt in to become a patron of the Cafe of Dreams, because I'll be sending out an email when we launch these classes this fall.
Excellent, excellent. And I think it's very timely because there's a lot of doom and gloom in the markets right now.
Right.
I think that there's a high price to pay if you allow yourself to be shifted by the tides and the waves and eddies of what's happening. And I think it's time for you to take control in your life and to actually make conscious decisions. And honestly, who better than somebody who has 35 years of dealing with the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens. Lynn, thank you so much for today. It was interesting talking about the Ordinary Grill.
Thank you so much, Frank.
And I know that on our next show, we'll be talking about the Cafe of Dreams, where we want to get to. So make sure you stay tuned. Lynn, once again, thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Frank.